Hello and welcome to this month's Janome Stitch Club. My name is Julia Langley and I'm one of the educators here in the UK. So this month I thought I'd take a look at some of the decorative finishes, and I specifically want you, I'm praying for you to be looking at things like, look, your instruction book. At the back of your instruction book, normally the bit that you don't turn to very often, there are some really interesting techniques that you may never have actually looked at or had a go at. So I thought today maybe we could have a look at a couple of them, and I'm looking specifically at things like faggoting. What they're really good for is joining fabrics together in a decorative way. So if I put my hand behind, I think you can see. So things like that, different effects that you can get, and basically they're going to join together two fabrics. Why don't we just turn to the machine and crack on, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's look at how we're going to achieve this look. So I've got my open toe foot on here because I find that better and clearer to see, and I've got each side and they have both been, look, pressed back, so they're nice and neat just under the foot, because what I want is my stitching to catch on each side. So I'm going to do the widest setting on any stitch that I'm choosing. I'm looking in the heirloom section, and I'm going to start off with the ladder stitch, which is a bit of a favourite of mine. I'm going to hold my thread just because there's nothing for it to grip onto down here. You can see look, there's nothing there. So I want it to have a really good start. So as you can see, it's sewing on nothing in between. So we need to, right, what I need to say, because I've done this several times, okay, during making this video. So here's a stop and learn moment. This is my screen, okay, and I have gone on to this stitch here, and this is the serving suggestion, and it's 5. Okay, so learn from me that, because it's caught me out a few times where I'm saying, why is it not going and catching on either side? And then I look and realise it's because this was on 5. There was another one, I'm not going to change it now because I'll lose the setting, but there are a couple of others as well. I think it was the honeycomb actually that it did the same. It came up on 5 rather than the widest setting. Okay, so I just wanted to use that as a learning moment. Right, and now, sorry, I'll remove my hand from the camera and get back to where we were, because having taken that size up, yay, here we go. So I am just sort of eyeballing it here really. I'm keeping them either side, and there are different ways of doing this. I'll show you in a second, but I just wanted to show you this. So I've done a fair bit with that particular stitch. I'm going to change the stitch out, bearing in mind the stitch width. Let's have a look at that very first one. No, that one's coming up on 9. Okay, that's good. Matching colour, that's quite important. Matching colour in the bobbin for this particular exercise. So there's a couple of stitches for us to have a little look at. So this one, quite intense because it is doubling it. I mean, I'm using this so that you can see the stitching. If I were to use like this sort of ecru colour, then I think that would probably look better. But this one here, which was the first stitch. This is a more traditional faggoting stitch, actually. Look, and it's quite open, but it does sort of close up, but it does give you that little bit almost of stretch, so you can kind of see where it would be useful. Often it's used, if you go back historically, things like this would be used to join seams. Bizarrely enough, it doesn't seem like it would be suitable enough, would it? But actually, if you look back on historical garments, you'll often see this used as a method of joining, like sleeves to a bodice and things like that. And partly because it does give that little bit of movement. So that's the sort of the basic premise of what we're doing. I would always say spray starch, because that will give you just a little bit more stability in what you're working on, because we're working on quite small pieces here. But if you're actually working on a garment, then it's probably going to be a much bigger piece. So a bit of spray starch is definitely going to do you a favour. And let me show you how you'd practically use this. So I got this dress in the charity shop, and it's a pink linen. It's an M&S, and it was too small for me. Just a shift dress. Look, it's got slightly curved hem. But what I'm trying to get out of it, if I can find it, is this one here. This is the issue. This is the sleeve piece, and it's huge. And even undoing the seams, look, because there was a really nice seam and I thought I was going to get away with that, but I couldn't. These are the two sleeves. So obviously we are quite a bit shy of enough fabric to get these sleeves together. So what I am going to do is on this, the bottom of this piece here, I'm going to have some fabric left, and I'm going to put 2 strips of this fabric into here, which is going to stretch it out. So these are the 2 sleeve pieces. They're not perfectly cut because of the way it had French seams, this dress. It was really well made, so it was a bit of a pig to frankly get it undone. But what I want to do, I'm not going to cut it through the center because I don't have the length here. So if you look at the pattern piece against it, where I need to add the extra fabric is about here. So what I'm going to do, and I've got the 2 pieces together, right sides facing, I'm just going to cut those end pieces off. Okay, so I've now got this piece in the middle. It's like a bit of a jigsaw. Let me take this off. So we've just got one. So we've got this and we've got this, and having thrown them to the side with gay abandon. Where's my other piece? And that's my other side. So I've now got this. So what you can do, if you don't have enough extra fabric, you could get some thick lace and put 2 lace panels in here. You could put a different fabric if you had a different colour, and then do some matching decorative stitching. But like I say, I am looking at adding in this, so I'm just kind of measure around which pieces. I might not get the full length on here. I'm just checking the stretch, so I'm going to have to go this way, and I need to get as many out as I can. So I need 4 pieces, obviously. Which should get me near as I can to that original pattern piece. If I don't have quite the same fullness, I can live with that. Ooh. That's in one, hang on. It's because I folded it. There we go. So this is what I'm going to be attaching. Hang on, and where's my other bit? Look, on the end. So now, once they are all attached, I'm just about going to get away with that. Like I say, I'm not going to get the complete fullness, so I will probably have to bring the sleeve in by about that much. I can't lay this out flat because of the camera. But, like I say, should be able to get pretty darn close to it. So what I've done is I've just pressed under. If you've got an overlocker, you might want to overlock it first. Pressed under, it's like a little tiny 1/4 inch on each of these pieces. And that's plan A. And this is how I'm going to put my jigsaw together, and I shall do exactly the same with the other one. And let me take you to the machine. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing about 5 or 6 layers of masking tape. This is Quilter's 1/4 inch. You can often find washi tape, which is a similar thing as well. Basically, masking tape means it's going to be really easy to stick on and then remove, because what I'm doing is I am making a guide, and you'll see all sorts of stuff on the internet about sticking plastic God knows what to your machine, but I'm not doing any of that because I do not want any of that near my needle or my feed dogs. So once I've done this, I've normally got one done, to be fair, but I wanted to show you how I do it. So look, it's reasonably thick. I'm just gonna trim the ends, because where this is going to sit for the process I'm doing is it's going to sit here just in front of the center part of my feed dogs, and I need it removable because I need to be able to get to the bobbin. But all it's going to do is guide my 2 fabrics through evenly. So this is what I mean about it just sort of gently guiding things through. I've picked my stitch. This is quite a traditional faggoting stitch, but what I've done is I've kept the 9mm, so I've got the full width of the needle swing going on here, but I've taken the stitch length down because when I did this before it was too open, not quite what I wanted, so I've taken it down. So I'm going to hold my thread up at the back just to get it started, because it is actually stitching kind of on nothing when it starts. So to kind of get that going, if you hold your bobbin thread up and just lift it, then it's going to kind of help it get there we go, get underway. It'll only take a couple of stitches and then it's underway, and all I can need to do is just gently guide it along my masking tape. You can just eyeball it, or you can use stabilizer. I've used stabilizers, I've tried all sorts, soluble, tear away, tissue paper. I do find sometimes the things that you need to remove though end up damaging the stitching, so I've just gone, this is my particular favourite, but certainly do try them because it might just depend as well on the fabric that you're using. This has been spray starched and it's got quite a lot of oomph, something a bit more slippery might definitely need a slightly different method. So this is my practice run. So let's take a little look and see. How pretty is that? Look, that's so delicate, isn't it? And it's surprisingly strong. Like I say, when I first did this particular stitch, I did it at the serving suggestion was quite a long stitch, and it was too wobbly. This looks way better. So it's on about 1 for the stitch length here, but I'm very happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of my pieces together. So look, here we go. All of this joined together. How pretty is that gonna? I'm now thinking I'm gonna have to do it on the front of the blouse as well. So see you in a couple of hours. So look, here we go. This just, oh, that's fab, isn't it? So all I need to do now, and I've just, in the pattern, and when I've done it before, I've elasticated the sleeves, but because of the delicacy and the way this technique finishes at the bottom, let me show you at the bottom here, then what I'm going to do is actually gather it onto a narrow band, because I think that will look way better. So I've done that. So if I grab my pattern piece now, and I just need to bring it in just to get it in shape, and you'll notice I'm not taking the fullness necessarily out of the top there. I'm just taking a little bit of it so that it will sit, and I've got it more or less in the center there. This is the sort of center mark, and this is more or less where I'm heading. So I've made sure all these are lined up so it will be equal, and then I'm just going to pin that and cut that, and then I can make 2 gorgeous sleeves. And here's the finished top. Doesn't it look great? So the next thing I want to show you is I'm going to use a 12 weight. Now this is probably about the thickest I'll ever go on my machine. Often use it for hand sewing. Look, you can see the injury there because I've been hand quilting, but very thick. So first things first, we need a much bigger needle, and I'm going to go for, yep, sorry, I didn't have my glasses on then, so I had to hold them up really close. So this is a size 16, 100 needle. So we'll swap that out and get that on. Number 1, because we're going to need a much bigger hole to get it through, of course, and to allow it to work. Working with these thicker threads is a case of trial and error. It really is. I think sometimes the different ones, I've had quite a lot of success, but definitely the 100, size 100 needle because it's got a much bigger eye. It does mean that it is, of course, a bigger thickness of needle as well. So you need to sort of take that into account. What I'm not going to do is put it in the bobbin for this procedure. I've just got a regular thread in the bobbin, or you could use bobbin fill. So I'm going to thread up in exactly the same way as per normal. So around, but what I'm not going to do, let me bring you back out, so sorry, too close there. What I'm not going to do is use my needle threader, because number one, the needle threader is not going to like this larger needle. It's not designed for that size, that's for sure. And what's going to happen is when I take it through there, because of the thickness of this thread and the way it's constructed, it's just going to split it. So I'm afraid we're on old-fashioned here. Then that's definitely going to be a useful tip. So if I'm still working my way through these various ones to see what they look like, and with this thickness of thread, what's been quite interesting actually is that you don't necessarily need to double up on things. Very often when I'm going for a decorative finish, you want to make it look as sort of full as possible, so those are the stitches that you tend to go for. But with this, I've noticed, so where is it? So when I showed you that first sample, this was the ladder stitch, look, doubled up. I haven't got rid of the solid leaf yet, but this is the one next to it, which was just the single strand, which with this thread, absolutely lovely, and might I say, a darn sight quicker as a standout. And on that job that I've got in mind, this is the one I'm going to go for, I think. So there we go, more information, more stitches, more things, more rabbit holes for you to go down, particularly with summer sewing, which is all about the detail and prettiness, and especially when you see what's around in the shops at the moment and knowing that you can recreate these on your machine. So hopefully you'll have a go at that. If you want to see more videos, there are loads more on the Janome UK YouTube channel. If you want to press to subscribe and notification bell, and then it will let you know when new videos drop. And it isn't just me all the time. You'll be relieved to know there are other people on here with lots more information about your machines. So make sure you're subscribed. If you want to give a little thumbs up just so we know, and if you've got any questions at all, pop them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible, and I will see you next time.